Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Women Like Me Stories and Business. And today I have a great guest. I'm thrilled to welcome Padma Dayananda. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Oh, yay. Okay. Now, she's award-winning woman in tech, a fierce advocate for social sustainability, and a coach helping women carve out meaningful careers without compromising their values. Now, I have read quite a bit of information about Padma, and she's going to be very helpful to all of us today on this podcast because she's lived some stuff that she's got some great lessons to help us all. So welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Julie. It's a pleasure being here. I've heard some of your earlier talks and conversations. They're so powerful and life-changing. So I'm looking forward to being part of this.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Okay, let's start with your early years. So, what was it like growing up? Because you grew up in India, but you also lost your mom at a really young age.
Yes. So my dad was in the army, and hence we had
Oh,
a very interesting life, traveling around every 2, 3 years, moving to a new school, new city. And India, moving to a new city is almost like going to a different country in the Europe, right? New language, new culture, new cuisine.
oh.
But it was fun, we had the sense of adventure and adapting. So I really enjoyed that, and I think that has built a lot into what I am today in terms of resilience to change.
Mm.
And I lost my mom when I was 12, and she had a health condition. And thing is, she was such a strong woman that she never let us know or let us feel how unwell she was. She was getting all the treatment, but but as a kid, as 11-year-old, you go with what you see.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and we always felt she was fine. She's going to be there. So it was very sudden for me, though I should have been more prepared, I guess. And at that time, there was no grief therapy concept. So it was just my dad and me saying, let's get on with life and trying to be strong for each other. And everyone who comes and says the same thing, you've got to be strong for your dad. And they said, Dad, you should be strong for her. So we just
Mm.
got on, and I think I put on a pretense of strength to it was my own coping mechanism.
Yeah.
I became this life of the party, the cheerful person, leader of the group, being loud and fun. Um, and over a period of time, I start believing that to be me. That is me. I have to be cheerful. I have to be the heart of the party when I go in, and I have to lead things. I have to make my mom proud. I think that was a very strong message for me. It was because my mom was this constant figure at home who helped me adapt whenever we moved to a new city. I had to learn a new language. She would
Wow.
learn and then teach me. And she would want me to
Ah.
excel in academics. She was a typical Indian mom of those times for whom, because she didn't have those opportunities, she wanted me to really excel in academics. So that stayed with me. I made sure I was always top of the
Mm.
class, top of the school, top of the city. I had to be the top at everything I do. And it went well until I think much, much later in life, I realized that that was a baggage I was carrying. I was trying to constantly prove myself to an expectation of a belief in my head, and that was tiring.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I read when you wrote me a little bit about yourself, and you said that you were a high achiever and you had to win at
yes,
anything you pursued. That must have been exhausting.
yes, it does. And thing is, I didn't realize it. I think most women don't realize it because you think when you're enjoying something, it is not stress. If you're enjoying it and hence you're doing 16 hours of it, it
Yeah.
is not stress. I used to dream of Excel sheets and project plans and strategies and winning bids. And I thought I'm really good at it. I love it. I thrive in this until one day I collapsed at office. Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I was rushed in an ambulance in Indian traffic. The 10-minute ride can feel like an hour. And I thought, that's it. I'm not going to see my 10-month-old daughter again because I couldn't breathe. And I thought my chest was clamping. It was actually a panic attack, but I didn't know then. It felt like a heart attack. It's all blacking out. It was that 10-minute scary journey to from the hospital, from this office to the hospital. That was an awakening. Uh,
Mm,
and when the doctor said it was a panic attack, I was like, that happens to somebody else. Panic attack happens to people who are stressed and people, I'm not stressed. I love doing this. So many of us
yeah.
have normalized burnout and stress to the until the body reminds you that this is not normal, and that's too late.
Yes.
It is
Yeah.
it is broken down, and you don't need to wait till then for that reminder. So that was my moment of awakening.
Wow. I did 34 years in sales, and towards the end, I, for a simple task, I would freak out. I was actually starting to stutter. I couldn't believe it. And I realized, okay, Julie, you're done. You're, you're done. Yeah. But the same thing, go, 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 go,
Yeah.
go, go, achieving, getting the money, getting the success, all of that. But it's no good to you if you go plump and you're done.
I literally went plop before a big client meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm so
Oh,
glad that happened at that point when my body could recover and I went down this uh, kind of exploration into why it happened. And that's when I
yeah.
met a counselor, then a therapist, and figured out it was unresolved grief. I was trying, my body had unprocessed grief stored in different parts of my body, and it was
Yeah.
constantly on high alert to, will I fail in this? Will this? So everything was fight and flight for me, right?
Yes.
No balance.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it was phenomenal. From then, my life turned into a more meaningful journey. I went down art of living, a lot more of breathing techniques, being more aware of what my body is saying. I started being an advocate of mental health to my team, and I
Yeah.
continue to be, right? I
Yes.
notice burnout before it happens in my team, even when they say it's okay and they're responding to a mail at midnight. I'm saying, I don't want you to respond at midnight.
Yes.
I think that empathy needs to be top down uh,
Yes.
because when you appreciate somebody working very late, you're setting that example for others. But when I
Hmm.
tell to a wider audience in a mail, please don't respond to any mail after 8 because I'm working from a different time zone. I don't expect you to be responding immediately. I send when I'm able to.
Yes.
You respond in your work hours. So
Yes.
those boundaries, either you set it for yourself, and if you can, set it for other members in your team and
Yeah.
people you work
Yeah, that is such great advice because we are such a do it now, get it now.
with.
We're walking. Oh, my phone went off. What's going on? And we're in that. And I think that you're so right. We need to take a breath and set boundaries and just say, okay, that's it. I remember years ago, I got a page to call someone. Uh, I didn't even really know what it was about, and they used the word it's urgent. So of course, I'm lying in bed, I see this, I get up, I call. I don't know if it's about my kids, like what is it about? And it's someone who said, "Oh, I was just looking at your ad and I lost it." I said, "Look, please don't use the word urgent
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock at night to call people, and I'm not talking to you." Just, but, I mean, if they hadn't used the word urgent, I wouldn't have got up. But my point is, though, that they might not have used that word, and I might have saw it and thought, oh, I should just get up and respond to that. I should just deal with this now. And it's cutting into our sleep. It's cutting into our peacefulness.
Absolutely. There's so much of stimuli around us nowadays. As you said, the ting, the da 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 da, the ting sound, all of that gives a blood rush, right? It
Yes.
gives different reactions to your body. I've seen if I have my phone next to me, as much I removed Facebook, I removed all social media for I think 4 weeks to get into the habit of not swiping screens.
Yes.
But still, even if it is not there, I would pick up the phone and keep touching those spaces, a body reflex, where the empty space or where the Facebook used to be. Or I would go to WhatsApp. After some extent, I was opening my bank account. Not that every 10 minutes anybody is depositing money, but it was the only app I could open. So
Yeah.
it is so deeply ingrained
Yes.
that it
Yeah.
takes 21 days for any habit reboot, something which I talk to my clients about. These things are very long drawn, and sometimes it has to be physical. So I put my phone physically away from me, and there is such a temptation. The minute I see it, there's an urge of there must be something urgent. Then I
Yeah.
started disabling Wi-Fi and mobile data because the school would call on the direct line. So that's the only thing I should be concerned about. That's the only thing that is urgent, right? If my school
Yes.
children's school is trying to reach me. That's I would disable Wi-Fi and mobile data and leave the phone. And believe me, suddenly I can hear the birds singing. I would actually savor
Mm.
things around me, and this has also come with practice. I've been doing this practice of savoring, and it's fascinating. I've seen these flowers for ages around me. I have a beautiful view of the garden, but I never look at it. I never take in that beauty.
Yeah.
Never breathe and say, I'm grateful. So I
Yeah.
started practicing, and I think all the listeners would love this. It's called radical gratitude. I learned it on a course called Uncertainty Experts, and it's dramatically changes your perspective of life. So what it does is if you're stressed about something, or just your mind is wandering and jumping across different things that you need to do, take a moment and be extremely grateful for something simple. But you
Hmm.
experience that gratitude. It could be as simple as my children have reached school. I'm having this cup of tea. I have a home, and I'm just here. I can hold it, and start feeling it with all the five senses. The sense of gratitude, and it comes with practice. And minute you do that, everything else doesn't seem as catastrophic as it seemed few minutes back. Gosh,
Yeah.
I need to send this proposal. I have not prepared for this podcast. I have not sent this deliverable. I'm lagging in my plan. But the minute you say, but it truly matters, I'm healthy, I feel good, I don't have pain today. We always notice when you have pain, we never notice when
Yes.
you don't have pain.
That's right.
Yes, I don't have pain today.
Yeah.
I'm able to take a deep breath. And then you build that practice. It's called radical gratitude. If you Google it, you'll see people who have been in extreme cases like prisoner of war or in
Oh,
prison, etc. They have used that to get through those difficult times. And that activates a different side of your brain, which calms down and says, and brings that safety net. Your body and mind feels we are safe. And from that place of safety, you think with more clarity.
I love that. Gratitude changes lives. I love that.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh, can I ask you about, I'm curious. So you quit a 24-year career, a job so what was that because of the panic attack? Was that what was
Oh, no.
happening, or what
No, panic
caused you
attack
to?
happened 15 years back. Uh,
Oh,
so it was low, and from then my approach to career changed. And since then, actually, I grew faster and I grew
ah,
with purpose because I worked from a place of contentment rather than aggression or lack. When
yeah.
you want a promotion, I don't have a promotion. Rather than that, I'm saying I enjoy doing this. And I really like what I do. And then I started growing with my career. So yeah, I enjoyed the career with my organization, 24 years, varied roles, great bosses, uh, a very supportive, entrepreneurial spirit in the organization. So I could experiment a lot more. I moved across. But towards the end of 24 years, when I was the head of social impact and I was driving it across 40 countries, I was really living my purpose. And I came to a point where I had to choose between aligning with my values versus the organizational direction. uh, that that was being dictated. It was every organization has its own directors, wants to change, wants to
Yep.
do things in a certain way, but it didn't align with what it had always stood for, or what I always stood for in terms of equity, uh, diversity, empowerment, transparency. So all of that was conflicting. So I still had very supportive bosses who said, let it go. You know, you continue doing what you're doing in one side of the organization while things will change. That was tempting, but it was standing against what I had spoken for. I always stood for equal voices, equal opportunities, seat at the table for all, etc. So that went against my wo- ethical principles. And I also was conscious that my two daughters were watching me. The decision
Uh,
I would take then would dictate how they navigate their life challenges. I could take the easy way out and compromise. No one would know. That was not a big deal. It was nothing unlawful or illegal. Or I could stand up for what I believed was right and walk away from everything I loved and built from scratch. And I chose the latter because I realized there are two things. You either have regret on your decision or you come out with pain.
mm,
Regret, I realized, is a baggage that builds over a period of time. Yeah, you ponder over it. I'm sure all of us have regrets which you look back and it still aches. But pain fades with time. So I chose pain
ah,
over regret, and which also showed my daughters not all choices are easy, and doing the right thing may not necessarily be easy. It can be just as challenging,
yes.
but it is
Wow.
okay. But pain
And
will fade.
I love that explanation. It makes complete sense. Regret can stay with us, but
Yes,
pain will definitely fade. So
yes,
thank you. That was great. So was it scary? Like how did you were you
yes.
yeah.
It was scary because I didn't have an identity. And that's something now I tell all women,
Ah,
that you need to carve your own identity beside an organizational title. We live for the title, we introduce ourselves with a title. What are we without a title? Right? We are
right.
much more, because there is an identity we have before our career, there's an identity after a career. And so what is that? Identity moves, and that's something I help women now with. How do you elevate your personal brand? How do you create your own identity? So that was my biggest challenge after I quit. I didn't know how to network and introduce myself, right? What I I think each one of you can think about for minutes, how do you introduce yourself where
Yeah.
after used to doing that for 24 years. So that was hard. It was painful. There were tears. There was lot of anxiety, um, into and the general instinct was to rebound and say, I'm going to go to the next big organization, take the next big title, and this is it. I put a vision board of the organizations I wanted to go to. I hired a coach to navigate that pathway to the new organization. But something was constantly nagging me, right? Even with the coach, every session I'd go, we'll explore, and I would come out still not very clear. Is that what I want to do? There was a voice which was not very clear. And what was change? Uh, what is the biggest change that happened was I attended a course called Uncertainty Experts. It's on Netflix actually. If you, I'm doing the free propaganda by mentioning it, but it is
Yeah.
that uncertainty experts. It builds your change tolerance and your change resilience. And that completely changed my approach to this, from anxiety to excitement. The
Yeah.
anxiety of the way I started was, I have this one canvas in front of me and I need to do a masterpiece to prove to the world that I am just as good without the organization title. And after that course, so I was in a stage of freeze, right? Because I can't mess up. This has to be perfect. I won't start. I can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
But after that uncertainty expert course, I realized I don't have one canvas. I have multiple canvases, right?
Yes.
I can try something in this. It's my canvas. For the first time in my life, I have the freedom to draw anything I like, and I can throw this away if I don't like and try it on a different canvas. And that sense of liberation, the sense of excitement, that set me off on this path of being an entrepreneur. And whatever you see today, my brand, me being on your podcast,
Yeah.
is the outcome of that self-exploratory, dropping my baggage of trying to prove it to others, elevating my own brand, raising my voice for myself,
Yes.
and creating visibility for myself. That has been the most empowering change. So I'm now so grateful for what was started off as the darkest moment, because it
Hmm.
set me off on a path of purpose. I think I was at the peak of my career of what I could do, and this is my next calling.
Yes, yes. And I think that what happens, and for myself as well, when I realized that I was no longer going to be in that industry, um, I started moving to a path where I was sort of still in that industry, but I wasn't doing the same thing. And I realized that that wasn't really my nudge. Women like me ended up being my nudge. And it's interesting when you give up and you just go with what feels right and what you feel in your heart. It's amazing what happens.
Absolutely. And it's the power of choice. And I understand it's a privilege. Many times women have walked up to me and said, because I talk about the power of choice, and they say, it's a privilege to have choice, and I acknowledge that. But at the same time, I believe knowing that there is choice, and just that the other choice looks so hard that you don't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah,
If you're a single breadwinner of the family, you have a huge family to support, you don't have insurance, it's not going to be as easy as me saying I walked away because I believed in something, right?
right.
You have
Of course.
many more factors to think of. But if you just take a step back and believe there is a choice, and if you're being sexually exploited. I'm taking the extreme case where there
Yes.
are women who are carrying on because they can't step away. They are the single breadwinner. I've seen that in some of the more lower income jobs in India. And I think if they just know that there is actually a choice of, yes, my family may starve for the next month, but but for me, I want to step away from this because it's unsafe for me. And if
Yeah.
I survive this, I can do something else. It may not pay me so much, but I'll do something else. That knowing that immediately gives you the safety net. Again, you have the clarity,
Yeah.
and you start thinking from that angle. I talked to this about this in schools as well. The second part, the second choice sometimes looks doesn't even show itself, but spend some time,
Yeah.
and there is a
Yeah.
choice. Life can seem dark, but there is a choice.
And when you make a choice, you take your power back.
Yes, absolutely. Knowing there is choice, you get your power back.
Yeah.
And that's how you stand up to bullies. That's how you stand up to unreasonable organizations. That's how you stand up for yourself. Uh, because it affects your mental health. How long can you put up with doing things that don't align with you? Uh, and finally, it comes to a point of breakdown, and eventually you will take that choice, right? It's just that you're going to really make yourself lean by the time you get there. Uh,
Yes.
and it may be a lack of choice. They might push you out. So
Yes.
rather be in a position of
Yeah.
choice, power where you make that choice.
And I think too, and I loved what you were saying when you were talking about your daughter, and because I believe that, of course, men are very important to families and to their children as well. But we're women, so we're talking women. I believe that we are the glue
Yes.
And we want to show not only our daughters but our sons as well that you can be strong and you can still be kind and it's important to do what is in your heart and don't be afraid to walk away. I love that, and I just think that it's such a role model for our daughters, our nieces, our friends, to be able to see that there is okay, that there is a life outside of what I'm living.
Absolutely. I express my vulnerability very often within my family, with my friends, even on this podcast. It was a struggle. It was not like walked away into sunset and found this business. It was
Yes.
painful. And my daughter has been my biggest therapist, I call her, because I, I tell her, I've put in so much of effort. I've done this, this, and this, and I just get rejections and rejections. And she says, but Mama, unless you send that out and if they don't respond, it's better that they respond in some way. At least it's reaching them. It's one step at a time. And that was a very silly logic. It is, but still it made sense. That means I am making progress. If you're getting 10 rejections, that means you are sending 20 mails a day.
Yes.
Those little milestones we don't celebrate or
Yes.
we don't see that. And she's seen me in tears, they've seen me
Oh.
frustrated. We have celebrated little things like today we won a bid. Okay, let's order some Chinese.
Aw.
And they're seeing the journey, they're part of that, and they take examples from their own uh, when she's struggling with a GCSE or SATs. And I tell her, remember when I had those three milestones and I struggled and eventually got it done? Just put one foot at a time, just keep
Yeah.
doing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes a lot of difference rather than what we speak,
Yes.
how we show up. I
Yes.
think that makes a bigger impression to our
Y-
children.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you talk about finding your power, so how do you think women can find their power? Like I know gratitude certainly does help and but let's say someone's sitting at home and they're like, I don't even know if I have any power. Where how could I even find my power? What do you think some tips are that they could do?
I call it my circle of influence.
Mm.
And I think every woman, every person in this world has a circle of influence. It's just small. Malala has a big circle of influence. Padma has a small circle of influence. But I still have a circle of influence. Now, it is about how do I influence in that space. So, if I want to raise awareness about mental health, I don't have a stage where I can go and talk about it, but I spoke to my team, my immediate team. I advocated it in every forum I got an opportunity. And slowly that became a theme, and they would call me to talk about mental health and my journey and me finding the purpose with larger groups. And now I'm talking on this podcast, right? It starts
Yes.
off in small. What I did was expand my circle of influence into the area of discomfort. Can I speak to a stranger
Ah,
about it now?
yes.
And I think that is where you find the power. We don't
Hmm.
build power overnight. We
Yes.
actually move into an area of discomfort and say, let me try talking to the stranger who is hosting this mental health workshop and say, can I come and share my story?
Yes.
Uh, and what is the worst thing that can happen? Sorry, we don't have space, but I'll definitely let you know next time. Or the best thing is they say yes. And I've
Yes.
applied that in every forum. I did a big movement in India to fight for the rights of children of migrant workers who were left to be exploited in construction sites, and it went on to become a government policy. But when I started, it was just one child story that I started fighting for. And I thought I'll pass on the problem to somebody else, right? I've heard about this child who was sexually assaulted, left we're quite close to where we lived in the IT highway. And I got to know when I explored, I found where the child went for treatment. I spoke to the charity that was supporting, and they said this is a very common problem. Children are left unattended in large construction sites from poor laborers' kids. And what can we do? She said, all you need is a shelter in every site where you have a volunteer or a teacher. So the child gets education and also child is safe. I said, wow, that sounds very simple. Now, who is going to do this? So I contacted somebody in the organization who used to run these volunteering programs. I said, I heard about this. Can we set up these construction shelters? They came up to me and said, so what would you like to do? And I was taken aback. I said, what would I like to do? What can I do about sort of this huge social problem, thousands of construction sites? What can I do about it? And they said, no, Padma, you just tell us what you would like to be done and you'll let's see how it all comes together. So I said, I want shelter in at least these two sites. And that journey and that question got me thinking. And from there, it became a movement. I started reaching media houses. I wanted awareness. At one point, I was locked up in a school because this construction mafia didn't want this to be exposed. But eventually, it came up in all the local newspapers and television, and it government mandated that every construction site should have a shelter. And we set up from our organization across five. That was the day. Until then, I was career minded. It was all about ambition and growth. And I thought this doing social good is for people who have time in their lives. I didn't realize that the purpose comes calling. And it was powerful. That day I realized the power of I, right? From starting from a lounge discussing what will happen to making it a statewide uh, solution, that was empowering, and it was pushing your circle of influence. Constantly push your circle of influence into the area of discomfort, and you'll be amazed at the power you find.
Wow. Yes, it was funny because I have highlighted here the power of I was one of the next things I was going to ask you about, but that is that's amazing, and I appreciate you so much telling us about it because we don't know. Oops, sorry. We don't know what we're going to what little things or big things we can create if we just open our minds and our hearts and even in fear step out.
Absolutely, and ask for help. I, I,
Yes.
I love the power of asking for help. We
Yeah.
assume that people will offer, and we assume people understand what you need,
Yeah.
and then you get disappointed that they didn't offer it. And the first question you need to ask, did you ask? Right? And I learned that from my husband, I think, because in the early years of marriage, it happens in relationship too, right? Typical, you want the guys to know what you want and be there doing it. My husband is a very
Yeah.
straightforward person. And I remember we had this lot of arguments. Why did you do it? He said, you didn't ask me to do it. I didn't know you wanted that to be done. I said, any
Mhm.
girl would want this to be done. And then yeah, why would you think I wouldn't want a surprise? Why would you think I don't want roses? And then we decided we will be very frank and tell each other what we want and ask for help. And
Yes.
that has really helped us through our 20 years of marriage. And even today, I'll say I feel down. I just want a hug. Or he
Yeah.
would say it's been a hard day. So this, if it, even the smallest of relationship, be it children to the boardroom,
Yeah.
if you need help, ask for help. It doesn't make you weak. It
Yeah.
actually opens up for others to join you. Uh,
Yes.
People want to be part of something and people want to help.
Yeah.
And they just think they're not capable or they what is there for me to offer? I'm not good enough. You're a star. How
Yes.
can I help? But everybody, if you just say, I need help, this seems quite difficult for me to be doing all by myself.
Yeah.
And that empowers your team. If they feel part of it. They like to
Yeah.
see that you are vulnerable and you're human. And it's
Yes.
okay for them to ask help too.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, such good advice. So, for women who are listening, who are burned out or stuck between values and success, excuse me, what do you think the first step should be that they should take?
Pause, pause, and explore
Mm,
what is holding you back. Is it a baggage or is it a barrier? I believe women
Uh,
have these two aspects. One is the baggage we carry, like then one I was carrying of expectation, right?
yeah.
I need to be winning. I need to make my mom proud. I didn't realize where it came from. But so you have societal, you have cultural, you have familial, so much of baggage women carry. If we are run by the clock, right? You need to have kids at this time. You need to be married. If you get too ambitious, you won't find a husband. You know, different cultures bring different baggages.
Yes.
So one is what's holding you back. I always ask women to wonder if nothing was holding you back, where would you be?
Hmm.
And the second is the barriers. Right in front of you, what do you find the hardest? There are systemic barriers, which is we know or we there is we are not being called for an interview, you're not being offered a position. That's where you reclaim your voice, you ask for the opportunity. Uh,
Yes.
but then there are actual, what are the other barriers holding you back? And sometimes you don't realize it. It could even be I don't want my children to go to a daycare or nursery because it's going to cost. But I call it invest. How much would you be ready to invest in yourself? Are you,
Yes.
do you deserve it? Do you
Hmm.
deserve that investment in yourself?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the baggage and barriers. So pause because what got you here so far, the same thing may not take you the next 9 yards, right? Because the market is different, the industry
Yes.
expectations are different. There's so much has changed, and you constantly feel you're on doing more, working long hours, taking on more responsibility, but that recognition and acknowledgement is not happening. And that's when you need to look at what is your self-limiting barriers, what is the barriers in front of you, and drop the baggage and get the required help to
Yeah.
navigate it. I
Yeah.
always ask people if you need to climb Mount Everest, would you Google it, sit and read about it, talk to 100 people who did it, and then make your own plan? Or would you go and talk to somebody who has done it 5 times and has got all the do's and no don't do's, runs a program and says, and you, who gets to the peak first?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
that. So get the help, get
Yeah.
the reinforcement, but first and foremost, self-exploration.
Yeah.
What is that you want, and how far would you go if you didn't have these limitations?
It sounds so freeing.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. It sounds very freeing.
I call it the visceral vision, which I do with my clients. I'm not sure if you've tried it. It's basically if you want to climb a mountain or you want to achieve something, in the vision, you're already there. So you
Hmm.
look like you're standing, for example, I want to be a TED speaker. I
Yes.
look at myself standing on the stage and look back and say, this is how I got here. This is how it feels.
Ah, yes.
So what happens is you start operating from a place of achievement rather than a place of lack. So if I stand here now, I'm looking at the stage, it's daunting. How do I get there?
Yes.
There are so many amazing people in front of me. The queue is long. Do I have the skills? Is my topic unique? Will I
Mm.
get selected? But when you put yourself on the stage, you get your path very clear and you
Yes.
know how it feels and energizes you. That's a visceral vision, and I would love women to try that
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yes.
You'll
I'm gonna try that.
you
That's what,
should.
this is what I love about being able to host a podcast and talk to all you so intelligent and all you women. You have such great tools. I make notes while I'm listening. I think that's beautiful. I love that. I do. I just love it. So let me ask you about your actual business because you have. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do for women, and then well, you might work with men as well. I don't know, but tell us what you do, and then you've got something you wanted to offer the audience as well.
Absolutely. So what
Yeah.
I did was I filtered out my 24 years of career, which is quite interesting globally. I worked across US, UK, Europe, India, and across industry. filtered it down into a 12-week transformational coaching experience. It's designed to help exactly the factors I spoke about, to break through your self doubt, navigate uncertainty with excitement rather than anxiety, and finally step into recognition and leadership. And do all this without burning out and without sacrificing your personal life.
Yeah.
That is the crux of it. So if you're feeling stuck, you're feeling overlooked, you're trying to climb the ladder, but you feel you're constantly paying a price to that, then I would love to have a conversation. I want, I think we are so busy being busy. Instead, if you spend time building your visibility, right?
Yes.
Speaking for
Yes.
yourself. You
Hmm.
expect people come and see how good you are. World is too fast. They
Yeah.
don't have time to come and stop. And it used to be, right? When you all used to sit in office, the manager could stand up and say, that person and that person works very well. They actually come and report. They are punctual. There's so many things. Now it's a virtual world. You got to speak for yourself. So,
Yeah.
how do you shed this cloak of invisibility, especially if you're a woman of color? I need to speak for them because I have personally been there. How many of you have sat at a table and shared your idea? People look at you and they move on to the next topic.
Mm.
And after few, it's not just women of color, I'm sure all women have faced it. After 2 minutes, somebody else at the table would repeat the same idea and they'll be like, wow, gravity has been discovered, right?
Yeah.
And you're wondering what's wrong. Like, I just said the same thing.
Yeah.
And when this happens over and over again, you start believing that there's something wrong with you. And guess what? They have made a science of this called imposter syndrome.
Oh,
And they
right,
say,
of
you go for
course.
a training and fix yourself. The problem is not with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is just that we have to reclaim our voice. So, a
Yeah.
simple technique I advise clients is if this happens, draw the attention back and say, I'm glad you like that idea and you also believe what I just said a few minutes back. Do it again and again because some of it is unconscious bias, some of it is conscious bias. But what's in your power, again, your circle of influence, is to draw the attention back. And this is
Mm.
exactly what I would like to help women with shedding the cloak of invisibility. Elevate your brand. Who are you without your organizational title? And overcome the frustration and work from a place of clarity. And you flourish
Yeah.
in your
Yeah.
personal and professional life. And
Yeah.
be ready to invest in yourself. You're
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah.
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 And if you're curious, I would love you to take up, I offer 5 spots for you to join and let's just explore what's holding you back. I
Yeah.
run a very simple test, uh, and you can figure out what's holding you
Yeah.
back, and we can look at 1 or 2 techniques to help you navigate that.
So will you send a link to me so that I can put that in the show details for
Absolutely.
people? Oh,
Yeah,
perfect.
I'll do
Perfect.
that.
Yeah, it being invisible is I think it has a we've always I think dealt with that to a certain extent, but I think now in the world of the internet and videos and short videos and clips and podcasts and everything that's going on out there, it can really make people feel even more invisible.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
absolutely. There are 2 ways to do it. Either you feel overwhelmed by
Yeah.
it, or you ride the wave and get to the spotlight.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
have chosen the latter.
Yeah.
And it is hard if you have to do all this. I'm not good at social media. It's tiresome. I have chronic fatigue and ME, so I can't spend so much of time on it. So
Yeah.
I pick and choose what's important to me, that
Yes.
which will reach the audience I want. And I
Yes.
found a technique to how I create my new avatar, which is authentic me, right? And
Yes.
whatever I applied on me, now I offer it to the clients because I know it works. It worked for
Yes.
me. It transformed
Yes.
me in the last 6 months because the first
Yeah.
6 months I was moping around for
Yeah.
my life, career, and then the next
Yeah.
6 months it clicked.
Yes. Yeah. I just love it. I appreciate so much you giving us your valuable time, Padma, and helping us all through this. You've just it's been a very eye-opening conversation that we've had and so many lessons and so many tips that I know that anybody who takes the time to watch this is going to get immense value out of it for sure. So I just want to thank you for being here, and I appreciate it so much.
No, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure being able to share my experience. And even if one woman finds this helpful and
Yes.
feels liberated, I think it's my job done. And I'll be grateful for this opportunity.
Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. Well, so everyone that's watching or listening, go to the details section and you're going to find all of the links of how to reach Padma, as well as if you want to sign up for her course that she's got coming up, or take the test, whatever you need, she's going to be there to help you, and we'll have all of the links so you'll be able to find her very, very easily. Well, once again, Padma, thank you so much. It was a great conversation, very, very enlightening, and I am really grateful. What's the word? Let me find my word. Let me find my word. I've got it here. I am radically grateful for you.
Thank you so much, Julie. It was such a pleasure just meeting you and having this conversation. Has
Oh,
been so uplifting. Thank you.
well, thank you very much. And thank you all for watching and for listening. And we will see you again on Women Like Me, Stories in Business.